Hi everyone, Naka Onilafor here, back for another video. And again, I always like to start by saying thank you to all of my subscribers. I am the author of My Own Gaze, Memoir of an Invisible Black Woman. You can get your copy on Amazon. And also go to my website, which you can find all the information in the description of this video. So welcome, and we are going to have some conversations that you probably are not going to have anywhere else. So let's just get right into it. I really want to unpack this whole slim, thick body type. And first of all, I'm just very much interested in this topic. So yes, I'm talking about this again. Just body image identity is something that I'm just interested in. So I wanted to be the one to unpack this. So maybe about a week ago or so, the young woman, her name is Roxana Diaz. She has been featured in the media again because of her body. And it's just interesting because, she was on the Tamron Hall show, and Tamron Hall never asked her, and she also never said whether or not her body is real. Now, obviously this is none of our business, right? Like, that's her business. But it was so funny because it was kind of like listening to the interview, you could tell it was the elephant in the room. Like, you can tell the audience and everyone watching just wanted Tamron Hall to ask her, is that your real body? Is that your real butt? And, and you all may know with interviews, oftentimes the person being interviewed will tell the interviewer and suggest, or kind of like tell them that they don't want to be asked certain questions. And so anyway, that may have impacted how the interview played out. But so yeah, and why does this matter? Why does it matter if her body is real or if her body is fake? Well, this kind of feeds into what I'm going to talk to you all today about, which is about this slim, thick body type that so many women are trying to obtain, and in many ways is not realistic. So let me really quickly start with somewhat of a personal story or a personal example. So in my family, actually on both sides of my family, the women who are just naturally quote unquote slim thick. I mean, that's just how they are. Many of them do not have to work out for this body type. They watch what they eat for the most part, but I mean, not even that. I mean, even if they're not watching what they eat, they just naturally have, smaller at the top, larger at the bottom. And I did not inherit that exact body type, which is okay. But why I'm saying this is because I grew up seeing women with this body type. And one of the things I knew from seeing women with this body type is that it was somewhat rare. And by that, I mean, yes, you see women, and oftentimes they're Black women with this body type. But one of the things that stood out, and again, I remember being a little girl and looking at one of my aunts and just noticing how and again, she was, slim thick, which back in the 80s, no one used that terminology. But I would see her and I knew immediately that, wow, her body is a little bit different. Like, it stood out, it did definitely stand out amongst the masses of women. So why I'm bringing that up is because I think there's this perception that by Black men, because we apparently are still talking about the Black male gaze, there is a perception, I think, well, a couple of perceptions. One, I think, is that this body type is easy to achieve. I think there are men and women who think that, oh yeah, I just want a slim, thick body type, let me go get it. And not realizing that genetics plays a very big part into why women are shaped the way they're shaped, and why we are all shaped the way we are shaped. And then the other, I guess, misconception is that, I was actually talking with someone and they were saying, well, there's so many women who look like that. There's a lot of women who look like that. And I was reminding this person, I said, yes, well, in 2022, there are a lot more women who look like that. Many of them look like that because of procedures and things that they've had to do to look like that. And this person wasn't necessarily buying what I was saying, but anyway. So I just want to start off by saying that, a lot of times we're looking at genetics And obviously diet and exercise plays some level of factor, but we all know that. I mean, if everyone could become slim thick for based off of dieting and going to the gym, we would, I mean, everybody would essentially look like that if they wanted to. So going back to Roxana Diaz and this video, or her interview was so interesting because even though it was great that this was the first time she's speaking out, she really trusted Tamron Hall, and that's awesome that she wanted to, kind of be a little bit more open about her story. However, it was a bit frustrating because, see, I think the thing of it is like, we, how do I say this? Like, all butts are not necessarily treated equal. And I'm just being honest. Like, and there's a big stigma against women who have, alterations as far as like butt alterations, BBLs and so forth. There's a big stigma, right? And it was interesting because Roxana even highlighted, she said very specifically that, in the beginning, when apparently she went viral like a long time ago, like maybe a year ago or whatever, she went viral. And at that time, it was more about body positivity. A lot of people were praising her body and the way it looked, and like, oh yeah, this is great, size inclusive, blah blah blah. And then someone caught wind of her her photo. And then all of a sudden it became more mainstream, and a lot of people started saying negative things about her body type. And I think where that came from, where I think it probably came from, is this assumption that, well, why would she do this to herself? Like, why in the world would she, as a teacher, because that's the big controversy is that she's a teacher and she's standing up in front of a classroom. I think the kids are really young, but I think I think she almost lost her job over her body type. Now the big controversy is like, okay, well, why would a person go do something to their body so extreme and then on the flip side complain or act like they're surprised that their body is causing a lot of conversation and looks and that they went viral, and that's why, going back to that interview with Tamron Hall, it would have been nice to even go to understand things a little bit more deeper, to find out, well, is this how you naturally look? Is this just your natural body? Or did you do something to alter your body to look like that? And let me tell you why it matters. When I kind of already said it, but going back to another personal story. So, at a job that I worked, I was in my 20s, and I've never, like I said before, I've never been slim thick, but I've always had a thicker body type. And so there was a woman who worked at my job who had some issues apparently with the way I looked. And in my opinion, I don't believe I dressed inappropriately, but I guess she was saying that my clothes were too tight. And so this went all the way up to the boss, the big boss lady, who apparently was monitoring me, for a period of time. And I didn't even realize that was happening. And then the big boss lady talked to me privately, and she said, even though, I did get this complaint, but I can see that, well, to quote her, she said, you cannot hide a nice body. Okay. Now, mind you, I'm in my 20s, so things have changed a little bit. But, and that was that. And it was never, mentioned again, and, no more complaining, because it's like, hey, so essentially it was like, this is the way you look. This is the way you were born, or this is anyway how you look now. We have to accept that. Now, I always think about if I went out and, got a procedure done, right, that accentuated certain parts. And let's just say people knew that I went out and did that. Or let's just say it was very obvious, right? Like either of those things. Either people knew, or it was so obvious that it was like, okay, overnight she grew a huge butt or whatever. I always think about, how would that conversation have been? Like, I can imagine, maybe it would have been the same conversation, but I feel like I would have been met with more, maybe more negativity, or just, because it would go into the whole narrative of like, well, you went out and you did this to your body, okay? And if you're gonna get your butt that big, like if you see Roxana's body, it's very clear her waist is really tiny and her butt is huge. So if I'm going out and I'm paying for that, in most cases is because I probably want attention. Now, again, I know that there are a small percentage of women who just do it because they want to look like that. Either way, you know that that body is going to attract a ton of attention. You know that. You know, and in many ways, you can't even get a body like that without going into the doctor multiple times. Like, you know, I mean, yeah, that's not one BBL. If she got, and again, I'm not saying she got anything done, but if she got anything done, that's multiple, in my opinion, BBLs. Because she's not a small, I mean, she's not a large woman. So then it's like, well, where are you even getting all this fat from? Which, you know, again, who knows if it's even fat? Who knows what's in there? But, and again, like I said, maybe it's her body. We don't know. But again, going back to this whole thing about all bodies, all butts are just not treated equal. And when people know that something is fake, or when they suspect that it's fake, I believe you are then treated differently. And I think that is why Roxana experienced what she experienced. In terms of people being, you know, initially positive, and then all of a sudden the internet turned on her, and then everyone was like, wait a minute, no, how dare you? You know, you're in a classroom in front of students, like, this is so unprofessional. Why would you do this to yourself? And she never addressed that. And like I said, she doesn't have to, you know, it's not her obligation to address it, but I'm just making a point. I digress. So Khadijah, and I'm going to get her last name wrong. It's last name spelled Mbowe. She's a YouTube creator, a content creator. And she recently did a video about I can't think of the title, but it's about the male gaze. I'll link the video in the description as well. But it's about the male gaze. And she talks about feeling invisible based on her looks. And this is more so, I mean, she's a dark-skinned woman. So she talks about feeling invisible, you know, as, I don't know if she references color in the video, but just how she was treated based on how she looked. And then, you know, she also talks about going from feeling invisible to then becoming more attractive, you know, however, you know, she kind of came of age, and then being like hyper visible. And it's such a great video, the way she breaks everything down, and she interviews people about the male gaze. And it's so funny because it's like, that's something that I am very much interested in, and I do videos about that. So to see someone else do a video about that, it was just super exciting. I just want to bring this up for, you know, about what she was saying, is because, you know, I'm going to talk more about being an invisible Black woman, which is what my book is about. But I do feel like, and I've said this in other videos, there's a hyper visibility that's going on right now with this slim, thick body type. And you know, and by hyper visible, meaning we're seeing it more often. We're seeing it everywhere on Instagram. Like, if you want to be an Instagram influencer, in most cases, you kind of have to have that body. And I think it's just unfortunate. And I think it's also creating, you know, it's causing a lot of women who normally would be completely comfortable in their skin to then want to go out and do things that, you know, may not even be necessary. And like I said, I mean, this is very nuanced, right? Because when you say slim thick, that could be a range of different women. Like, when I went to West Africa, this is like probably my skinniest adult weight was when I was in Ghana, Nigeria, and Mali some years ago, and I'd lost weight just by way of, you know, the lifestyle in Africa. And I wasn't slim thick, I don't think, but that would probably be the closest that I've ever in my life been to remotely even being able to say I was slim thick. You know, but I was still, you know, I still had, you know, D cup or whatever boobs and all. So again, I don't know if I would even fit. The point I'm making is there's a spectrum. And going back to Roxana, I mean, it's like, okay, you could be, you know, a normal size and be slightly slim thick, but when you start seeing it's the extremes. It's the size 4 up top, the size 18 at the bottom, or 16, or even size 12, you know, and when you start seeing that, then you start questioning, okay, I wonder, did this person do something? So there's a hyper visibility. And one of my theories, and I know this is not true in every case and for everybody, but one of my theories is that hypervisibility sometimes can be a form of invisibility, because women or people feel so sometimes invisible that they then need to go out and do certain things to become more visible. And again, this does not apply to everybody. Like I said, there are women who do it just because, and then there are women who, get procedures and you can't even tell. So I'm actually not talking to, what I'm saying now doesn't really apply to that group, because if you're getting something and it looks natural, then the argument can't be made that you're really trying to do it, for a gaze necessarily. I mean, maybe you could be, but if you are altering yourself and there is an extreme situation going on and then you are turning heads and you can't even go anywhere without men gawking at you, and I mean, but then to for that to happen, and then for these women to say, I don't know what they're looking at, I don't know why I'm getting all this attention, this is really unfortunate, I'm just trying to live my life, I'm just trying to teach and do what I got to do. But you know why. So I think that is the frustration for me. Like, if you're gonna do something and it's very obvious that your body type is not within the normal spectrum of what we're used to seeing, and then you act like you don't know why you're getting all this attention, it's like, well, didn't you kind of do that for the attention? Or maybe you didn't, but then why did you do it? So I think if you fall into the category of being someone who, if this applies to you, and if you've done something and it stands out, embrace it. That would be my solution. Just embrace it. Like, if that was me, I would be like, yep, did it, and this is how I look, and yep, I'm getting all the attention that I wanted to get, or I don't know. And she, to be fair, I mean, with Tamron Hall, that was her first and possibly last interview. So Roxana doesn't seem like she is someone who wants a ton of attention, but again, perhaps she wanted some attention within her own community, or who knows, she could be married. Maybe she was doing it, for her husband. We don't know, right? We don't know. But I just wanted to come on here and sort of follow up on my last video, well, not my last video, but one of the videos I did about the BBL epidemic, and just kind of add a little bit more layers to it. Yeah, so subscribe if you haven't, and stay tuned for more videos. Bye.